Welcome back, everyone. In this video, we're going to start the deployment process where we're going to deploy our train model. So I'm over here. I'm going to click on File, New, click on Notebook, and I'm going to close this. No kernel. Let's select Python. You can go in the top right corner if you missed that over here, or when it asks you. And I'm going to rename this. And I'm going to call this deployment notebook. Awesome. And now what we're going to do is we're going to copy some things over from the LLM notebook. So I'm going to import Sagemaker and Boto 3 and run it. Then the session, like so. And then the role as well. And also, let's make sure that the session is working as expected. So session.boto region name, US West 2 for me. Awesome. Now, as you can see, both notebooks are running, which we don't need. And that's what I don't like about Sagemaker. As soon as I clicked on the LM notebook, it started it. So let's come over here and click on kernels, expand it, and feel free to exit out the LM notebook. We don't need both of them running simultaneously. Okay, I'm gonna save this. So far nothing has happened. And now in what I'm gonna do right now is, well, it could be cheating, but it's so tedious and takes so much time. So what I did is I uploaded some code to our repository. So if you go to Patrick Sepeshi and find the QLoRa course, it's public. Please go to deployment, and then in deployment, go to deployment notebook. And let's copy this. And I'm going to explain in just a second what this is. Make sure you copy everything, okay? So I copied this entire thing, and now let's paste it here. Now, what is this? Well, it turns out that each region has a specific mapping. So I'm in US West 2, so my specific mapping is this over here. And when we create the LLM image, and when I say image, I mean Docker image, because the way that these models get created for inference is it's going to be an image that lives in ECR, which is the Elastic Container Registry of Sagemaker. It's outside of the scope of this course. It allows you to easily access and host these models. That's how you deploy these endpoints. And so what we do is we have the LLM image, and it's an F string. And what you do is you go to the region mapping, which is a dictionary, and then based on your session.boto region name, which we have over here, for me it's US West 2, it will give you the correct ID. So for me, it's going to give me this, okay? And then this is just some boilerplate code, .dkr.ecr, this is just the location, again, the session.boto region name. And then over here, this is just some very long. This is how it deploys this specific, LLM. And there's a long list of how you find these. And if someone's curious, please ask me in the Q&A. But if you're looking at it in AWS, you'll likely find that this one is a pretty general image, and you can use it for many things. The Hugging Face PyTorch TGI inference with the GPU Python 3.10. It's on Ubuntu. It's kind of not something that we shouldn't really worry about because it has nothing to do with fine tuning and stuff. But if someone asks questions, please ask me in the Q&A as to how do we know what this is and how do we find it? And it's actually just very easy. You can just Google these in, and AWS is going to give you a list of all the available image names, okay? So now if we run this and we print the image name, as you can see, mine is this over here. Awesome. Now what we're going to do is we're going to find the S3 URI. So S3 underscore URI is going to be equal to, and actually what we have to do is go ahead and go to our training jobs, go to your finished training job, and now over here, this is where our model lives. So this is the output, as you can see. So I'm going to copy this because this is my S3 URI. Now, if you don't believe me, we can click on it. And if we come over here, we select this and do copy S3 URI. We can come back over here and we can just paste it in like so. And then our S3 underscore URI is simply going to be where our model lives. Now over here, by the way, if you're curious, 1 second, the training image, does this look familiar? So this was the training image that we used. And so that's why this is the inference image that we're going to be using as well. Except, as you can see, this is also the region mapping.dkrecr.uswest2, Hugging Face, PyTorch, and this is PyTorch training. But for us, it's a bit different. It's the PyTorch TGI inference. Okay. But now we have the S3 URI where our model lives. Awesome. So now let's do import JSON. And then we're going to say from Sagemaker dot Hugging Face. Let's import Hugging Face model. Awesome. And now let's do the Sagemaker configuration. Instance underscore type that we're going to be using. And it's going to be an ml.g5.48 extra large. This is a very expensive instance. We're not running it yet. But if you look at the pricing, it costs $20 per hour. And this is the true cost of, running LLMs. So that's why big companies have to price them ideally. And it's not like I want you guys and girls to lose your money. Like, I'm not like, oh, use this instance. I don't work with AWS, so I don't get any money from this. I wish we could use this instance, the MLG54 extra large, which only costs $2. But because this model has many, many billions of parameters, we need a large instance like this one, which has a huge amount of memory and vCPUs, but it will cost us $20 per hour to run. So if you do end up, following along with me, and I will let you know when we run the cell, it will start incurring charges for you. But for now, this will not incur any charges, okay? And we're going to set the number of underscore GPU, and that's going to be 8. And now we're going to say the health check underscore timeout is going to be equal to 300. So that's just, how much it should wait for the health check. And this is in seconds, so that's 5 minutes. And now we're going to define the model and endpoint configuration. So I'm going to say that the config is going to be equal to, and it's actually going to be a dictionary. And over here, I'm going to say that the Hugging Face underscore model underscore ID is going to be over here. And it's going to be in /opt/ml/model. Very good. Now we're going to define the Sagemaker underscore num underscore GPUs. And that is going to be equal to json.dumps and number of GPUs. So obviously this is the number of GPU used per replica. And now the next one is max underscore input underscore length. And this is going to be equal to json.dumps. And let's set this to 24,000. Now, what is this? This is the max length of the input text. So, feel free to modify this however you want to. Actually, I forgot the comma here. And now the next parameter is max underscore batch underscore prefill underscore tokens, and this is going to be equal to JSON.dumps, and let's set this value to 32,000, have the comma. Now this is what this parameter does is the number of tokens for the prefill operation. And prefill is the stage where the model reads and processes all input tokens before it starts generating a response. It's resource intensive, so platforms like Sagemaker let you set a limit to control how many tokens can be handled at once during this step. A higher value allows you to handle longer prompts or more users at once, improving throughput and batching efficiency, but it does use more GPU and can cause out-of-memory errors. A lower value is safer in terms of memory usage and is better for small frequent requests, but it can also lead to underutilized GPUs and less batching, which reduces the overall efficiency. So you need to find a good balance for this. And for very large models, setting this too high can actually crash your endpoint, while setting it too low makes it inefficient. So tuning this value is key for optimizing both performance and cost. Okay, but I did find that this is a good parameter. Now, after this is the max underscore total underscore tokens, and this is going to be equal to JSON.dumps, and let's set this to 32,000, and here add the comma. And this is the max length of the generation, including the input text. Okay, so that's very important. Now, oops, and I almost spelled tortilla. Max total. I'm so bad with spelling today. And over here. And now the next parameter is going to be max underscore batch underscore total underscore tokens, and that is going to be equal to JSON.dumps, not dumpy, dumps, and the value over here is going to be 512,000. And so this limits the number of tokens that can be processed in parallel during the generation, okay? Because keep in mind, if you have a endpoint like this set up, these configurations are important because you expect to serve requests from not only one user, so from many users. So limiting the number of tokens that can be processed in parallel during the generation is actually an important parameter. Now, let's say that the LLM model is going to be equal to Hugging Face model, and now it takes the model underscore data, which is going to be equal to the S3 underscore URI. So the model data is the S3 URI. The role is going to be equal to the role that we defined above over here when we got the Sagemaker execution role. And now after we have the role, we're going to say that the image URI is going to be equal to the LLM image. And then the environment is simply going to be equal to the config file that we created. And why is this yelling at me? White space, like so. Now here, here. Okay. Now it seems like it's, yeah, this linter is pretty weird. Okay, so it's yelling at me for not having the, okay. Like so. Actually, I don't know why it's yelling at me. Unexpected spaces around keyword. We don't even have unexpected. Okay, now it's nice. And, oh, it wants me to break it to this line is too long. It wants me to do like this, but I'm not going to do that. I don't like that. This linter can be super annoying in Sagemaker. So now we create the Hugging Face model with the image URI. And remember, this is where our model lives, but we also need the LLM image that we defined above, okay? Because it's going to take our model and it's going to use it in this image, okay? And now if we run this, don't worry, running this will not cause you charges just yet. It's only going to create the Hugging Face model. And JSON, I misspelled over here. So let's run this again. Hopefully no errors. Awesome. And now this is going to be the endpoint name, and we can name it whatever we want to. And I'm just going to say, Mixtral endpoint version 1. Awesome. And now the LLM is going to be equal to LLM underscore model dot deploy. And this is going to take in the endpoint name, which is going to be equal to the endpoint name that we defined. Again, it's yelling at me for the equal signs. Awesome. Now the initial instance count is going to be equal to 1. That means on how many instances we want to deploy this model on. After that, the instance type is going to be equal to the instance type that we defined over here above. Awesome. And now after that, we're going to say that the container underscore startup health check timeout is going to be equal to the health check timeout, which we set to 300 seconds over here. Let's actually double this to 300 seconds is 5 minutes. So 600 seconds is 10 minutes. Let's set this to 10 minutes. And so I'm not going to run this just yet because remember, first of all, let's go back to Sagemaker and let's go to quotas. And let's find the quota that we need for the model we try to deploy. And it's going to be this. So I'm going to go and look for Sagemaker. View quotas on Sagemaker. I'm going to paste this in. Search for it. This is going to take some time. I don't know why. Here it is, and we need it for endpoint usage. I've actually had to deploy some very large models for testing. So for me, it's already at 8 for the applied account level quota value for the MLG 5.48 extra large. But for you, it's probably the default quota is 0. So come over here, request increase, and then set this to whatever number, and then click on request. Okay, and that's going to take a few minutes tops. And now if I go back, I'm not going to run this just yet. Actually, why don't we run this? So I'm going to run it. And keep in mind, this will start incurring charges. So if it runs for 1 hour, it's going to be $20. So I'm going to run this. And if we go to Sagemaker, this is probably going to take at least 10 minutes to deploy. So if we go now to Sagemaker, and then we go to inference here, and then endpoints, we see that the Mixtral endpoint v1 is in the creating status. Okay, so I will see you in the next video once this is up.